Hey everybody, it's Friday night and it's time for some Optimism 101, right? What happened, Coco? You want to be on camera? Come here. So this little guy makes my days brighter. Every morning wakes up wanting to play or wanting to just hang around. But so today I wanted to deviate a little bit from the topic of optimism to talk a little bit about grief. And this is something that is more on a personal note than any kind of research that I've done. And living through great loss, not only my brother, but then my father and a dear friend of mine. We have somewhat made it. I don't know how, honestly. And I think that my family and I have come out of all of these tragedies and losses because of the line of work that we do, where we work with balloons and we celebrate life all the time. We celebrate basically birthdays, celebrate special occasions, and celebrate the fact that we're grateful and people are grateful for sharing and being able to be there with each other. And I think that if anything, that probably has been one of the great factors in allowing us to move on and to even, grow and become, just the people we are today and how we carry ourselves. And the description of what I felt when I first learned that my brother had passed away was basically, I felt almost as if a vacuum had sucked the life out of me. And for the longest time, it has taken for me to feel that void again. And it's something that at first it was almost unbearable. And I remember the first night thinking, I'm alone with my parents, and now they have no one else but me. And kind of like worrying about the future and how it would come and what that meant for all of us. But at the same time, being devastated that I couldn't go back to work. I didn't want to go back to work, and that I had lost all sense of what or purpose of anything. And it's only with time that I've learned to follow my heart, to really live in the moment, be present, and to appreciate life. And if I learned anything from the death of my brother, was to really take life by the horns. And although that might mean something completely different for me, because it doesn't mean go out drinking or partying or anything like that, but it means making every step that I take meaningful and purposeful. I think that it has made the quality of my life and the quality of the relationships that I have been in a lot more significant and intense at times. So I am, as one friend put it, I am intensely laid back. And honestly, today I had a great day. I had some job interviews. I had that went really well. And basically we're just waiting to go to the next stages for a position, and which might mean that I may be moving or not. But in all, I always feel that there's the presence of my father, my brother, and even though they're not with me and I cannot see them, they're still here, and it's almost like they're still alive, and I carry them, and I've inherited from them one of the most valuable things, and it's the love that people had for them. And I think that that's the greatest treasure that you can inherit from anybody, and very few people actually get to be loved by so many and remembered by so many with so many different stories. My brother and my father were really very similar. I tend to be more like my mother, a nicer version. Thank God she doesn't understand English that well. But basically, we both have different ways of dealing with grief, and I tend to kind of like put a smile on my face and carry on. And even though I might be carrying the greatest grief, I never have put at anybody anything negative, I hope. And although I did have my times of being a bully back in high school, but that was a different story. I didn't know any better. But I've always, even people remind me, always very smiling and just always joyous. And my teachers used to call me David el hombre feliz. And this last month has been maybe like the last 2 or 3 weeks have been a struggle of really going back to that joy that I had before, when my family was complete and alive, and when we were all healthy and all together. And it has been a conscious decision of not letting anything really spoil that sense of fullness and fulfillment that I have, that I get from my work, that I get from being around the people that I love and that love me. And giving grief that space of mourning the losses that we have, whether it's relationships or whether it is jobs or anything. And it's been quite a journey, and it's been the rewiring that I'm doing, but I wouldn't honestly have it any other way. And I think that when we are honest and sincere with ourselves, and when we choose joy over sadness, and when we choose joy over worry, over anxiety, over depression, our well-being is improved, and we just radiate that. And I don't know about you, but this is not just lighting. This is just like I'm glowing. So my friends will make fun of me for saying that, but that's often what happens with me. I go through stages where I have to mourn, and I have to process the losses that I have to do. And in those moments, I try to isolate myself in a way, to be by myself. And then when I'm ready, I come back, and I'm like the roaches and Cher, there's no getting rid of me. Thank goodness. So that's kind of like a positive note, I guess, to say that, I know that a lot of people are going through loss this year, and seriousness, COVID, people lost loved ones. And no matter how hard it seems now, it tends to not get better, but get more bearable. And we learn to live with that loss, and we learn to live with the grief, and we learn to, again, allow joy and happiness into our lives and into our hearts, and always stay warm. So hopefully you'll take that message away with you, and that's kind of like what I have to say about that. But next week we will continue with our optimism lectures, and I'll talk about freedom, independence, and optimism. Have a good night.